going on?
Amir,
Last two questions.
Amir, you have your father managing you. Also, you have a working relationship with Al Heyman.
Yeah.
How hard was it to get you back on HBO?
It wasn't hard, you know. I have a great team. My team, Calm Promotions, and my father and everyone look out for me. If I look out for the best interest, and so does Al. You know, I said to Al, this is the fight I want, and Oscar's got in touch with me, so I want the fight, and I was like, look, if you want the fight and you're confident in the fight, I think it's a great fight for you. So if you want it, go get it.
So you had his blessing.
Yeah, so I had his blessing.
All right, and your advisor Al Heyman, he's putting the spotlight back on boxing. You're going to be on Free TV, Porter Thurman. What is Heyman doing with the premier Boxing Champ series?
I mean, he's just taking it to a whole nother level. You know what I mean? I mean, you haven't seen this type of excitement or explosion boxing since, you know, the Sugar Ray Leonard's back in the day, the Mark Hagler. So he's just taking it to a whole other level, man. And, you know, he gets a lot of hate when it comes to everybody else on the outside, but he's in a situation that he's making us rich, and he's giving us tremendous exposure, and he's
making us look at Berto's suit.
Oh no, this right here light. This light.
He said, I seen Berto with the Ray. Berto got the Ray. He said it's light work.
It's light watch. You know, so I mean, you can't fault a man for that. I mean, we're in that risking our lives every time we step in there.
Every time.
You know, so who is it for anybody to tell us we shouldn't get paid this, we shouldn't get paid that? Like it's crazy. So I think that you know, he's tremendous for boxing, and he's putting on great fights too, you know, for the fans. So
quality and the quantity.
Exactly.
What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Now, I have a pretty busy workload. There's some other videos I was working on, and I put them to the side to make this video because I felt it is my due diligence. This is my duty as a boxing journalist to talk about this and spread the word, because as you guys know, I'm all for the growth of boxing, and let's get it in. Adrien Broner, he did a great roundtable style interview with Fight Hype. Link in the description. Shout out to them. And the media was surrounding Broner. I think just from what it sounds like it was before the Thea Payne fight. And you can see the title of the video that Fight Hype, what they elected to use for the title, was something to the effect of Adrien Broner says that African American fighters not promoted the same as Mexican fighters with Golden Boy and Top Rank. And he's kind of, obviously, his advisor is Al Heyman, so he's talking about the perks of being with the Al Heyman side. And this is a touchy subject for some people. Some people try to race bait and turn it into a race war, like, oh, Broner's black and Mexicans, black versus Mexicans, and stuff like that. But the end is near for a lot of the dumb shit in boxing. This is time for the new media. It's the new media. There's people like me. There's people like Dante's Boxing Nation who are doing different stuff, like asking trainers and boxers certain questions that everyone else in the room is not asking, right? And the thing is, whether some people aren't going to agree with what I have to say, they're going to disagree, they're going to hate me, all types of stuff. But what I'm asking as real boxing fans, don't just say dumb, silly shit in the comments. Dispute what is being said. And I want that, not even just the people who have a dispute, but the fans in the comment section of these forums. Boxing is a beautiful sport, and there's a lot of people that they just get on here and troll and race bait and like, oh, haha, monkeys, and just crazy stuff like that. And we need to restore the order, and that's my job. And I want to talk about what Broner said. And the funny thing is, again, some people are they're gonna kick and fuss, but what he said, I think he has a point. I see it, because I'm not saying, first of all, Broner said this in his interview too. He says, I have nothing against Mexicans. They take up a huge demographic of fight fans in boxing. He's like, I love my Mexican supporters. I love Mexicans. But the thing is, a lot of people, and just go to the comment section of the video, because the video's been up, so it got some good comments. And the thing is this, is dispute what he's saying. Use valid examples that are realistic in real time to dispute what he's saying. And the thing is, I don't have anything against K2, Golden Boy, Top Rank, Al Heyman, PBC. I am for the growth and betterment of boxing. I was a fan before I started doing any of this, right? And the thing is, a lot of people are going to kick her foot. That's ridiculous. Broner's just saying that because he beat Thea Payne. Like, what are you talking about? Again, one thing that I always play on the Eagle Valley clips that Tupac said that I love is they're only here to cause distractions. That's what a lot of these casual fans do in the comment section. They won't take the issue straight up. Like if we're talking about Manny Pacquiao, they're not even addressing Pacquiao saying something about gay people. They're like, what about Mayweather IV? Right? Broner is making his standpoint, his statement, being on the PBC side, what he sees about African American fighters. And it all started from a Terence Crawford question where he did nothing but praise Terence Crawford, a guy that pretty much was in his division. He says he's moving back to 147, but for all intents and purposes, he was in the same division as him. On the other side of the pond, Terence Crawford, and he's clearly the bigger A-side star. Like, if the two were to fight, I'm not talking about skill or who would win the fight, but if Broner fought Crawford, Broner's the A-side, because maybe even for the wrong reasons, because he's throwing change in Walmart, whatever, he's the A-side. He did not have to take that route and give nothing but praise to Terence Crawford, but obviously, as a person who laces him up himself, he respects Crawford's skill, he respects Crawford's game, as we all should, because Crawford's a hell of a young fighter, undefeated, and so on. Broner didn't, even though he's on the opposite side, he could have took jabs at him. I remember Broner and Rios back in the day, they were taking jabs at each other. They're on the opposite side, like, oh, why doesn't he come over and fight us? And there's some back and forth banter. But he didn't do that. Broner didn't do that with Terence Crawford. He paid him the utmost respect. And he said in this interview, that Terence Crawford is underrated. What he's done and what he's accomplished in his skill set and stuff, he's not getting the proper treatment. He's not getting the level of exposure. He's saying, me, I get exposure, because basically, he didn't say I'm a loudmouth, but that's basically what he said. I have an outgoing personality. I don't care what people think about me. Therefore, I'm going to attract attention in the room based on me. I'm flashy. He was like, Crawford, guys like him, he's quiet. He's not flashy. I mean, if you stir him up and you poke a stick at the beehive, you don't get the streets out of Terence Crawford. We've seen that with Deary Jean and Hank Lundy. But other than that, he's a chill, mild-mannered person. There was another person that Adrien Broner mentioned in this. He said he's not like that. He's not pretty much like a Floyd Mayweather or a Conor McGregor or an Adrien Broner. He's a God-fearing man, does his duty in the ring, and then trains hard, and that's it. And he's basically saying that on the Golden Boy side, if you're a Mexican fighter, a Latino fighter, that you're going to get different treatment. And I mean, it's hard to disprove. And he even admits, like, there's a Mexican demographic that take a large percentage of boxing. So maybe that's their aim. But again, I find it hard to disprove what he's saying. You know what I mean? Maybe they feel that's the gold mine if we appeal to Latino fighters. But the thing is, he says with Al Heyman, it's about equality. It's a neutral ground. You got guys like Leo Santa Cruz, who are getting great opportunities. Mexican-American, Abner Matas, Mexican-American, Adrien Broner. You know what I mean? All these guys are getting great opportunities. Victor Ortiz Berto, you know what I mean? They're getting good paychecks, good high-profile fights, getting to fight on Fox Sports, things like that with the premier boxing champ. And I like that what Broner said. He said basically, Al Heyman's basically going to put you in position. He's going to put you in those positions. So if you squander it, it's up to you. But he's going to give you every angle and possible position for you to thrive and do well and take those opportunities and make the most of it. And he was basically saying he didn't really necessarily see that. And the thing I liked about Broner in this interview, there was no horseplay. He wasn't clowning. He wasn't joking around. This is perhaps one of the most mild-mannered, mellow Adrien Broner interviews that I've ever seen. And it was a great one. He says, I don't know how Oscar De La Hoya feels about me, but we used to work together. I have respect for Oscar. We were cool. I don't know how he views me, but it's all love on my side. But he was just saying that. And when I was on the Dante's Boxing Nation show, Eric Hunter, who's fighting Lee Selby on the Anthony Joshua versus Charles Martin undercard, Eric Hunter, who was signed to Golden Boy, he said the same thing. Like, he said something to the effect of, if you're not an amigo, if you're not Latino, then you're not going to get the same types of opportunities. So again, let me know what you think in the comment section. This is not about a race war, but I have noticed that with a lot of African-American fighters, sometimes the African-American fighters have to do so much more before they even start getting any type of like looks and main events and things like that. Look at Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford, look at how his career, he's been in with pretty deep situations. What I mean by this is, okay, he fought Bradis Prescott, a puncher who knocked Amir Khan out in one round, right? He moved up in weight and fought Bradis Prescott. He moved from 135 to 140 with only 2 weeks to prepare for the fight because Bradis Prescott's other opponent, last minute pullout, and he was part of the televised portion of that card or whatever, and on HBO. So Top Rank, they said, okay, you know what I mean? Cameron Duncan, Terence Crawford's manager, he didn't like the idea, but Top Rank obviously gave it the green light because the fight happened, and we seen a star was born with Crawford because he did good and totally outclassed a guy in the new weight division. Then Crawford dropped back down. Then he got a title shot with Ricky Burns later on, and he fought Ricky Burns in Scotland. He had to go to Ricky Burns' backyard where he was a champion and celebrated, where they also robbed Ray Beltran. Ray Beltran went there too. Ray Beltran broke Ricky Burns' jaw, and he should have won that fight, and they gave it to Ricky Burns. So knowing that, that's a dangerous fight because he has a hometown advantage, and you've seen what happened in the Ray Beltran where Ray Beltran should have clearly won, and they didn't give it to him. So Top Rank, then again, they put him in that situation. He did what he had to do. His very first title defense, he fights an undefeated Olympic gold medalist. Undefeated. And that was Yuriorkis Gamboa at home. Gamboa was hurting Crawford in that fight. Gamboa was winning like the first 5-6 rounds. And it's not about cherry picking or anything. I'm not saying, oh, he shouldn't fight. But I'm just saying, you look at the course for certain fighters, it seems to be a bit, you get thrown to the trenches a little bit more if you're not as marketable, or if your promoter doesn't view you as marketable, right? You look at Nicholas Walters. He was in there with a guy who had never been stopped in Nonito Donaire, who has power, who's big, who has speed, and that was his fight. He had to fight Vic Darchinyan, who looked good against Donaire in the rematch and was arguably winning the rematch till he got stopped by Donaire, right? Very difficult fights. Then Nicholas Walters, he had to fight, who was it? A guy that beat him, I believe, twice in the amateurs, in Mariaga, and he's a puncher, and Mariaga had like an 80-85% knockout ratio. Plus he had the psychological advantage because he had beat Nicholas Walters in the amateurs, right? Nicholas Walters does the damn thing, avenges that. Then he fights a very game Sosa, and he gets a draw. Now that's not obviously no promoter's fault that he got a draw, but again, you see these fighters are in tough fights, and they're still not getting the same level of recognition as some other fighters that have done less, haven't been in fights that are as tough, right? And that's just, it is what it is. People can skirt around the issue and whatnot. And I said this in a Monday Mail Day, and nobody responded to this, but I'm going to repeat it. Gervonta Tank Davis, who's with Mayweather Promotion, he just opened up a Spike TV telecast, which happened to be a great PBC card. Robert Easter looked really good versus Mendez, a former world champion. Adrien Broner, Theophane was the main event. Now, Gervonta Tank Davis, 21 years old, clearly doesn't have anybody, he's coming up, you know what I'm saying? So we don't have no one on his resume, nobody of note. He hasn't really accomplished anything in the sport other than looking, you know what I mean? He looks good, and he has the Floyd Mayweather cosign and stuff like that. But I'm talking about, and this is not a diss, I'm being real. He hasn't reached an echelon of success. Yet, look at how he's being talked about. Look how he's being promoted and boosted. They're saying this kid could be the next Floyd Mayweather. Do you guys know, after his performance, he was a trending topic. Gervonta was a trending word. Gervonta Davis or Gervonta Tank or whatever the keywords were, it was a trending topic on Twitter after his performance. And he opened up the card. Now, I said this on Monday Mail Day. If he was signed, if Gervonta Tank Davis, being 21 with X amount of fights and not any big names at this point, if he was signed to Top Rank or if he was signed to Golden Boy Promotions, do you think he would be getting the level of accolades and exposure that he's getting being with kind of the Al Heyman Mayweather promotion side? And I really don't think he would, because you look at other people, they have some good stars with Top Rank, with Golden Boy, like Nicholas Walters, as I just mentioned. He was never no trending topic after any of his fights, and he knocked Donaire out. He looked real good. I don't see him being praised and boosted like that. Same thing with Terence Crawford. I've seen him live. He's had some phenomenal performances, like Gamboa, exciting fight of the year. That was my fight of the year that particular year. And I don't see him, like Broner said, I don't see him getting that level of exposure where everybody's just talking about him with respect and stuff like that and really checking for this guy. And I think it is how a lot of these people are being handled by their promoter. So you guys can say what it is. That's my personal opinion. I will further expand and expound on this topic of African American fighters. But just get ready for the new media, man, because there's a lot that goes on. And again, some people get mad. Why are you bringing up race? Because race is clearly a factor in boxing. Again, you can hide from it. You can say it's not an issue, but go to that Fight Hype interview. I seen things like, oh, monkeys, and nobody, someone said something about African American fighters, and the other person said, oh, nobody takes anything from you broke bastards, talking about black people, things like that. I mean, you can go in any comment section. Me as a YouTube commenter, people leave crazy comments, and then there's other people who can say whatever. Skip Bayless or whoever, they can say whatever they want. They don't get called names and slander and monkeys and different stuff like that, and they say outright dumb shit. And it's not just Skip Bayless, there's other people. I mean, again, I'm gonna dissect this, so just watch the video with Broner talking about Mexican Americans and Mexican fighters being promoted heavily, and some of the African American fighters falling under the radar with their promoters. And you guys as fans leave credible, intelligent responses and disprove it. If you don't believe Broner, what he said was true, and you don't think that is the case in today's boxing, you give me examples of Golden Boy fighters like Luis King Kong Ortiz, and he's not black, but he's still like a dark complected. He's darker than he's darker than me. You know what I'm saying? He's darker than a lot of people, right? So I'm talking about people who aren't fair skinned and like really, really light and stuff like that. And he has all the talent in the world. I don't see people praising and reveling in him. I think he can, on any given day, he has the potential to beat any of the guys, any of them. He's Cuban. He has a Cuban background. He has nasty power, and I don't see him being praised the same way as other people. Definitely not a Canelo. Who has a higher knockout percentage, Luis King Kong Ortiz or Canelo? Right? Who's undefeated, Luis King Kong Ortiz or Canelo? And then again, people are going to say, oh, but he tested positive and all kinds of other stuff. But I could do this all day with other fighters. Nicholas Walters, right? Another fighter. Undefeated. Powerhouse. That's what people say they like. And who gets the supreme treatment? Is it Nicholas Walters? Are people really, is his name ringing bells? Is he getting the level of exposure? Who do you think has more exposure right now? Nicholas Walters, who's done more as a pro, or Gervonta Tank Davis, right? Who has done less, but you know what I mean, he's a good canvas to work with, and he's on the come up. It is what it is. Drop it in the comment section. Make sure you like my video. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.